Hey guys, it is only beginning of September, but I've definitely felt a chill in the air. I walk outside and I can smell fall. It is just about that time of year where we need to be making some small adjustments and doing some little plant maintenance-y things to set our houseplants up for success through the cold, dark winter months. So we're gonna cover all of that, everything that I do to set my plants up for success. Winter is rough. Not just on the plants, so I try to get as much ahead during the warm months as I can. So here we are, welcome. You'll have to let me know if you keep plants outside during the summer and then move them back inside for the winter. It's something that I've done every year, but I don't actually know if that's like common practice. So please let me know down in the comments. Okay, my number one tip is to pay attention to the weather. This might seem obvious, but especially if you're someone that leaves your plants outside for the summer months, it's really important to bring those plants back inside for the colder days. Most tropical houseplants can survive at a temperature low of around 55 degrees, and anything below 50, if we're feeling risky-ish degrees. I'm not like super strict about bringing them in. I'm not like, oh, it's 55 degrees tonight, gotta bring them in. But like, if there's multiple nights in a row where it's getting really cold like that, then I'll definitely bring my plants in and just keep them inside for the winter months. I'll go ahead and repot any plants that really need it. It's kind of my last chance, last hurrah to get them repotted. I don't have too many plants to be repotted right now, but I do have two of my outside plants that definitely need to be repotted, both of which are ficus. So I have my ficus Audrey, it needs to be repotted, and my ficus elastica burgundy. This bad boy has been living in this ceramic planter for quite some time now, and even though this planter is super heavy, it has been getting blown over. So that tells me that it needs to be uppotted. It actually doesn't look as root bound as I thought it would. There are definitely some roots you can see in there, but I was expecting them to be a lot more compact for how top heavy this is. And how much it's been getting blown over, honestly. This planter is plastic. There is no drainage down here. I'm gonna add a layer of horticultural charcoal to the bottom. Rustle up the root ball a bit. Add a layer of my potting mix. Move my plant over. I have one other plant I want to repot, Ficus Audrey. Since I'm not potting this one, I'm just gonna break up the root ball a little bit. I just wanna like zhuzh the roots up so that they can start fresh in this pot that it's been living in for a while now. Just gonna mix some of that old soil up with the new potting mix. I need to find a saucer for it. This is kind of a bigger planter, so saucers for bigger planters are super hard to find. I'm gonna put this back in its spot. And then the Ficus Audrey, I'm actually going to be passing along to a friend. Something that's been in the back of my mind is where I'm going to move all these outside plants to the inside, like where there's the best spaces for them, the best lighting for them, no drafts, you know, all those sorts of things. I've just been kind of paying attention, and I don't have anywhere really good for this Ficus Audrey, so I think it's for the best for everybody involved that it goes to Gabby. So thank you, Gabby. Step number 3, hard pest treat. This is mostly for the outside plants or any indoor plants that I've noticed an issue with. Usually plants closest to the windows ends up with some sort of pest by the end of summer because we do open the windows a lot during the warm months. We want that airflow, and that can introduce pests to plants. So I need to pest treat anything near the windows and also anything that has been living outside, and my hard pest treat is using Bonide Systemic. I'll sprinkle a little bit around the base of the plant. Another thing I'll be doing right now is pulling off any dead branches, especially off of this Norfolk Island pine, before I bring them inside. Otherwise, I'm going to have these little needles everywhere in my house, and I don't like that. This totally isn't absolutely necessary, but I do prefer a more bare base plant. So that's kind of why I do this. Even some of the ones that don't need pulled off that are thriving, I do still like to pull off. This plant is actually really pokey. I kind of dislike that. It's fine when the needles are well watered, but when things start to dry out, like these branches that I've just pulled off, they are really, really pokey, and it can hurt to step on them or like grip them. I actually stabbed my fingers a bunch of times pulling those off. So I guess pruning dead leaves, removing dead leaves is another step I kind of forgot to mention earlier. See? Even though my plants do still dry out fairly frequently in the winter, I'm definitely watering more in the summer months. Applying the systemic during a time when I'm able to very deeply water the plants pretty frequently does make the systemic work a lot better. It's something that you kind of have to apply and very, very deeply water the plant to make sure that the roots are soaking up the systemic so that it can actually go up through the plant tissues to the leaves and the stems and all the different little bits that bugs are nipping on, and that's how it kills them. Before I water in that bonide, I like to clean my plants. I'll kind of do a double whammy with this. I'll go in with my neem oil spray, and I'll spray all the foliage, all the stems, the top of the substrate, and also the outside of the planter with neem oil. I use neem oil more as a cleaner, like a leaf cleaner, leaf shine type of thing, than I do a pest prevention measures. I've been using my outside plants as examples because those are the ones where these steps are the most important. I am still treating my indoor plants with all of these methods as well, but the difference is I'll do it in the bathtub. Systemic, a really thorough neem spray. When I spray them off, it's removing all the dust and debris, so my indoor plants are more able to absorb sunlight. Although yeah, like definitely this umbellata has had spider mites in the past, so using neem oil on it is a great way to make sure that that outbreak isn't going to continue happening on a plant like that is prone to spider mites. It's more just cleaning them, making them shiny and able to absorb the sun rays. My next tip is to apply slow release fertilizer if that's what you use. So I personally really like to use Osmocote granules. They provide everything a plant will need nutritionally to thrive. So I do just like to sprinkle a little bit of this on the top of each of my plants just to top off my plant's nutrition, help it thrive through the winter months, to also still be able to give me a little bit of growth. It just gives them that little extra push in case they want to grow. I'm not like trying to force anything to grow through the winter. If it wants to take a rest, it can take a rest, but I want to make sure it has everything it needs to really take off during the spring and summer. Like I don't want it to be nutritionally depleted come springtime. I want it to have like it stores up so that it can really pop off once that summer sun, spring sun starts to hit. If you're somebody that stresses about your plant nutrition, I do think Osmocote is a really good route because you only need to apply it twice a year. Once it's dried is when I'll go ahead and go back into the plant and water it really thoroughly. Making sure to water in the Osmocote granules and the systemic. Something I forgot to mention is to wait to do this until the plants you're going to be treating need to be watered. So I let my plants get pretty dehydrated before this point so that I know everything is super, super thirsty. The thirstier they are, the more water from the systemic and the Osmocote their roots are going to uptake, because that's the goal in all this. We want the plant to soak it on up. Easy peasy, right? And every time you water, it'll just automatically get nutrients from that slow release, from the slow release granules linked down below. Of course, the last step is to bring Anything outside, inside, again, once the temperatures start to hit those low 50s for multiple nights in a row, that's when I'm like, okay, it's time. It is almost winter. It's gonna start getting really cold and my plant is going to go downhill if I leave it outside any longer. Kind of all through the summer months, I'm like eyeing any little spots and being like, okay, what could I put in this spot? Example, I already know I wanna put this plant, my jade, here. Ponytail palm will go here. And I'm gonna squeeze all of my Sansevieria outside onto these shelves. I used to just be like, okay, it's time to bring my plants in. I need to find spots for them, but I definitely plan ahead now. And I think it's very beneficial to plan ahead because those cold fronts can hit us like out of nowhere unexpectedly. It can be like 90 degrees and then 50 degrees. Well, at least where I live in Utah. I don't know how it is other places, but sometimes it's just like suddenly it's really, really hot and then it's just like freezing from here on out until the next spring. So I try to plan ahead and know where all of my different plants are going to live when it comes time to bring them in. If I decide to check my weather app and I'm like, oh shit, we're gonna have 4 50-degree nights, I can just bring them in really quick. Everything's cleaned, fertilized, repotted, all of the messy stuff outside, and I can bring it inside. I'm somebody that likes to move my plants around constantly, but I haven't been doing as much of that, so this is kind of a really good excuse to move things around. And then it feels fresh and new and exciting again. This is an excuse to not be bored with it because I'm moving stuff around. Actually, I'm gonna do a bonus tip, tip number 7, which is to supplement with artificial light. Some of my favorite lights for this are these little ones you see here, especially for smaller, slow growing plants. I think these are great. I will also link them. The Soltech brand lights. I have one in my living room and 2 of the Highland track light systems down in my basement, which provides really amazing light for my basement plants. I really wouldn't be able to keep this amount of plants down there if it weren't for these lights. Probably the easiest supplemental light I give is in my guest bathroom where I use these, what are they called? GE bulbs. I just put them in the actual bathroom light fixture and they provide my plants additional lighting. Even though there is a window in here that gets pretty decent light, like this just gives them a little extra oomph. I don't leave them on or anything, but anytime, you know, the boys go in the bathroom and they flick the lights on, even for that like 1 or 2 minutes, the plants are getting a little bit of supplemental lighting, you know? So I think that's a great method. Those are all my tips. I'm sure that there are other things that could be done in preparation for winter as well. And I'm sure you can find a lot of that information down in the comments. Like I said, I really appreciate you leaving your best tips and tricks down there as well. It's super helpful for the whole community to be able to read down there and get extra info. I learned so much in the comments section, so thank you. Thumbs up or thumbs down this video to let me know if you got something out of it, or if you would rather not see some videos like this in the future. I appreciate it. I need to know how, I don't know. That is going to be it for this one. I will see you next time.